Hello everyone, I am Mauricio Felberg, a lawyer registered with the Brazilian and Portuguese bar associations, and I was honored to be invited to participate in this important event, World Constitution Day. In this global event, which has the constitutional order as its common north, we choose to bring to the discussion a phenomenon that has generated intense debates in the Brazilian legal landscape: the imbalance of the structure of powers and the concept of juristocracy, as diagnosed by several Brazilian authors who studied that subject. Among them, Ricardo Peake Braga, author of the work Juristocracy and the End of Democracy: How a Legal Technocracy Took the Power, prefaced by the then president of IASP, Institute of Lawyers of São Paulo. To understand the phenomenon of juristocracy, it is crucial to recall the importance of the separation of powers in a democracy. This structure, as advocated by Montesquieu, must ensure the independence and harmony between the executive, legislative, and judiciary branches. The mechanism of checks and balances are essential to prevent abuse of power, ensuring that no branch supersedes the others. For example, laws can be questioned by the judiciary, but the legislative and executive branches should work together to limit the judiciary's actions when necessary. The balance between these branches is what guarantees the health of the democracy. However, what we have observed recently is what we call juristocracy. This term refers to the situation where the judiciary, due to the politicization of justice and the judicialization of politics, begins to exercise functions that go beyond its traditional competence, assuming the role of a superpower. Ricardo Peake Braga, in his book Juristocracy, states that the judiciary, by becoming a central actor in political disputes, ends up encroaching on competencies that are properly those of the legislative and executive branches, becoming a true superpower.
This shift in function is concerning, as excessive judicialization can lead to the delegitimization of decisions that should be made by elected representatives. A clear example of this situation is when the judiciary intervenes in issues that would traditionally fall under the legislative's competence, such as decisions regarding public policies and legislative reforms. Emblematic cases, such as the interventions of the Brazilian Supreme Federal Court in matters of significant social relevance, illustrate how this dynamic can become distorted, leading to a scenario of legal uncertainty and distrust in institutions. The consequences of juristocracy for the democratic state of law are alarming. When the judiciary is seen as a moderating power, trust in institutions erodes. The legitimacy of judicial decisions may be compromised, especially when they supersede legitimate choices by elected representatives. In Juristocracy, Braga notes that the crisis of representativeness worsens when the judiciary takes on the role of protagonist in decisions that shape society. This phenomenon not only weakens democracy, but also generates an atmosphere of uncertainty, where the role of each power becomes confusing and nebulous. The judiciary, which should be a guardian of the Constitution, may end up becoming a political actor, distorting its primary function. In light of this scenario, it is essential to think about alternatives and solutions. One of them is strengthening the mechanisms of control and balance among the powers. We need to reevaluate the structures that encourage the excessive judicialization of politics and promote a constant dialogue between the powers, always seeking mutual respect. Moreover, legal education and citizen awareness are fundamental. Strengthening the understanding of the limits and functions of each power can contribute to a more robust and informed democracy. I would like to emphasize that, in light of the constitutional order, the phenomenon of juristocracy in Brazil has advanced to dangerously high levels. Recent international events illustrate this concern, with significant institutional and political tensions stemming from the politicized actions of the Brazilian Supreme Federal Court. Such tensions have led to reactions like the unusually exaggerated tariff increase imposed by the US president and the revocation of visas for the justices of Brazil's highest court and their families. In conclusion, it is urgent and necessary to discuss the phenomenon of juristocracy and critically reflect on the role of the judiciary in contemporary society. Democracy is a precious asset that must be protected by all of us. Juristocracy is nothing more than a serious pathology of the democratic system, harming the constitutional spirit and therefore requires special attention. I thank you all for your attention and invite you to continue this discussion that is so relevant to the future of our democratic system. Finally, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to the organizers of this unique, significant, and global event for the opportunity and honor of participating. Long life World Constitution Day. Thank you all.